today we have today we have today we are having a follow-up session on Foreign Currency Regulation Act, the challenges in retention, renewal, and registration. As you all know, foreign grants or donation received by NGOs are regulated by Foreign
Bombay
Contribution
Catholic
Regulation Act
Church.
2010, or normally called as FCRA. In order to receive foreign funds, an NGO has to register with the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is assigned a unique FCR registration number to be renewed every 5 years. In 2015, the center increased e-filing requirements. NGOs had to make quarterly filings of foreign grants received. They also have to notify within 15 days any changes in bank account, name, address, aims, objectives, and key functionaries. As Mr. Raja B. Singh has already told us earlier, FCR Act of 2010 was amended by FCR Amendment Act 2020 and received the President's assent on 29 September 2020. The aim of this amendment, as the government specified, was for strengthening mechanism, enhancing transparency and accountability. Now, in this month, on 10th November 2020, the rules were also amended. In our earlier webinar on 15th October 2020, our key speaker, Mr. Raja B. Singh, who is also speaker today, had explained in detail the various amendments listed by them, amendments under 10 categories. He had based in 10 categories. One is opening of bank account in SBI in New Delhi, capping of the administration expenses to 20%. He also cautioned us that what content we put in public domain, we should be very careful about what we put in the public domain. And we should also confirm that directors and trustees are not prosecuted under any law and ensure absolute compliance. 93% of FCR NGOs are registered outside Delhi and will now have to open a bank account in the capital. The sector received 16,343 crores in 2018-19 as FCR, foreign currency contribution, and 46.5% of those received less than 1 crore. So very minuscule percent of people, NGOs got more than this. So with this brief background of what has happened till now in the earlier webinar and the scenario now, I request our president, Mr. Rafael, Advocate Rafael D'Souza, to give us a welcome address. Over to our president, Rafael D'Souza.
Thank you, Alvin. His Lordship, Bishop Peter Paul Saldana, Bishop of Mangalore, who is present here. He was present for the last webinar also. Various Reverend Sisters representing your congregations, Reverend Fathers representing your parishes, maybe your trusts, various heads of different NGOs who are present here, professionals who are present here, the principal office bearers of All India Catholic Union, the principal office bearers of the Bombay Catholic Sabha, the members of AICU as also members of Bombay Catholic Sabha and various associations all over India. Today, as Alvin, our moderator, has already explained to us, is the follow-ups webinar on the foreign exchange, foreign contribution regulations and Amendment Act, which we had on the 15th of October. I'm happy that at this moment we are already over 80 persons present. And I hope as the time goes by, the number is going to increase. But what is important is why this follow-up webinar that has been organized. The Act is a statute. Act is passed after deliberations by the Parliament or the legislature, depending on where the law is passed. Once the legislature legislates and it goes to the president, it gets assent, and once the assent is given by the president, it becomes an act. So now the law which has been assented has to be administered. The rules are the subordinate legislation, which are basically to administer the statute. Now, in our previous webinar, our speaker enlightened us as to the various aspects of the FCRA Act, as also what are the important implications that have come into the Act through the Amendment Act of 2020 as notified on 29th of September 2020. Now the rules have come in. He had cautioned us that more details as to the execution of this administration of the Act will be handled by the government, will be enlightened in the rules. Now, on 11th of November 2020, the rules have also been published and it became notified on 12th November. So we thought, without wasting much time in consultation with our speaker, thought of organizing this follow-up webinar so that the Act and the rules both are known to us and we are in a better position to administer our NGOs, which are basically extending either research services or service to the society and upliftment of the downtrodden. Some of the rules that have come in are, according to me, are slightly dangerous. What are those implications? We will hear from Mr. Raja Singh. With this, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. In fact, the welcome address was supposed to be given by the President of All India Catholic Union, Mr. Lancy Dikuna. However, because of some medical urgency, that he could not be present with us at this moment. So at his directions, the onus of welcoming all of you with pleasure, of course, has come on me. So once again, welcome to all of you for this webinar. And I'm sure we will go back enlightened with a topic on Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and the rules under the able expertise of Mr. Raja Singh. Over to our moderator for further proceedings. Thank you. Arvind, you have to unmute. Yeah.
Before I introduce the speaker of today, I'll request everyone to keep your mics muted. Do not try to put on the mics because that will disturb the speaker. And we'll give you ample opportunity to ask questions if there's a time. We plan to wind up by 8:30. And we request you to put your questions, when you have any question, put it on the chat. So we'll put once the gives his keynote address. Then we will take your questions and we'll pose the questions to our speaker and he will answer it. Today's key speaker believes in the witness in the workplace with integrity and excellence. Mr. Rajabi Singh is a senior partner of the firm R.K. Khanna and Associates, a chartered accountant, having head office in Mumbai and branch in Bangalore. He joined this firm in 1978 and completed more than 4 decades at this firm. He has a distinguished track record of service to several leading organizations, providing expert counsel, national and international tax issues, encompassing issues concerning foreign exchange, foreign collaborations, and other matters concerning non-resident individuals and corporation, and also has represented the organization on tax issues successfully before different authorities at the assessment and appellate stages, as well as before Central Board of Direct Taxes. The biggest thing, what he believes in his practice, that he would never pay bribe at any stage because his faith does not allow him, and the integrity is something which he cherishes. He has vowed never to deal in bribery. So that is something unique in the profession, which people think is not possible to adhere to. This is what, but Mr. Rajabi Singh has steadfast stuck to his principles. Mr. Raja Singh has been a visiting faculty at many places, including Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management, Mumbai, Tata Institute of Social Science, Wilson's Academy of Management Education Research, Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. He was also a professor at City College at Mumbai, teaching finance management and taxation for 32 years. Rajabi Singh has given lectures regularly on Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and income tax applicable to churches and charitable institutions. He has great expertise in the whole realm of finance, taxation, and other regulatory regulations organizations. With this brief introduction, I ask Mr. Rajabi Singh to take over and enlighten us about the challenges of registration and renewal of FCRA. Over to Rajabi Singh.
Good evening, friends. I hope you are able to see the slide. Am I right? Will someone say yes?
Yeah. We can see your slide, okay. And also voice is very clear. Thank you.
Great. Friends, last time when I had an opportunity to be with you, I have dealt with you with the amendments that had come. Well, there have been many things that have been happening since then. And as a matter of fact, there have been many things just in the last 2 years. Would you believe that this was an act in the first 35 years of its existence had no changes except one? But in the last 2 years alone, there was one amendment to the act. There were 3 amendments to the rules, 1 advisory, 2 notifications, 3 public notices, and so many changes in the frequently asked questions and answers. With all these things, there is so much of, in fact, confusion and all that happening with everything around. So what I have tried to do now today is consider all the developments, put them all together, and then try and see what it means. I am now going to concentrate on what we are going to face in the next few months. That is the renewal of registration. And this is also going to be relevant if you want to continue and carry on this use of foreign contribution. So I will be focusing on based on all those changes in the law and the rules and everything else, put everything together, what is the effect on the renewal and how I will be able to retain? Obviously, I will not be touching upon how to do a fresh registration or the prior permission or any other matter. I would not go into it. I'm sure you will understand. So limited to the point, if you have any question, feel free to put it, and I would also try and answer them as we go along. Let me tell you quickly what I'm going to deal with it today. I will deal with you as to how to handle your bank accounts today. I believe that's one big challenge. That's an immediate matter. I will deal with that. Then I would deal with you with the renewal, which is due not too long ago. In less than a year, we have that due. And then what I consider very important for you to get going, a compliance check that is required. And these are the three things that in the limited time available, I will try and cover. Let me go to the first of those items, handling the accounts. Friends, you would recall that in the last time when I was there, I did show you this chart. I showed you how does the whole matter work. Let me quickly run through that. The present position from a foreign source, you receive the money into what we call your designated account or the FCRA account. And then what do? You can use that, or if you want, you can pass it on to the utilization account and then use it. This is what is the present position. Now, what you need to understand is this arrangement will be valid only till the opening of a new FCRA account, which I had mentioned to you earlier. What does that mean? You have been asked to open a new FCRA account in New Delhi for receiving the account till you open the account, or 1st of April 2021, whichever is earlier, this position will be applicable. But from the date of opening the new account, things are going to be different. What's going to be the difference? From the foreign source, you will receive into that new account. I will call it as a FCRA account. That's what is going to be called the FCRA account, which is the new account which you will be opening in New Delhi. And then, of course, from there, you can receive the money into what was earlier your account. Don't try to change it at this stage. You can get the money back into that account which you have now. And I would refer to that as another FCRA account. So during my presentation, when I say FCRA account, I'm referring to the Delhi account. And when I say another FCRA account, I'm referring to your present account. So this is how it would go. And of course, you can then receive the money into your other account and use. That is the arrangement that has come about now. Okay, so I want to point out before I go further one matter here. You know what? This account, which is known as that FCRA account, which you are opening, is referred to as an account for receiving the remittances. So which means this account is for receiving remittances from outside India. What is this account going to be? The second account, which is your present account at this stage. This account will be an account known as an account for keeping and utilizing the account. So that's for holding. And the others are just utilizing. I think it's an important factor that you should keep in mind for you to understand as we go along. All right. Now, the new account, the particulars are all available. You are aware of that. I have shared with you last time. Every details on that is available to us. And then, how do I open that bank account? What do I do? So I am going to tell you how exactly you can go about opening the account. Let me take you through that. I will do it fast, but I'm sure you will be able to understand. Now, it was all been mentioned, look, your account is in United and it is in Delhi and we are all scattered. But you know, the one good thing is you can choose any bank of SBI branch anywhere. In other words, wherever you are in Delhi, choose a local branch of SBI, of course, choose that account. It is through that account you can handle all the opening. You don't have to go to Delhi. Right. What do you do then? Second, you go there and submit your what is called the account opening form, AOF. It's called. How do you get that AOF? You can get it from the bank, go and collect that form, or you can download that form. So once you have that account opening form, you fill up that account opening form, go to the bank and submit it with all mandatory KYC documents of the organizations, as well as KYC document of the signatories. So in both these cases, including memorandum and articles and all those things, and the photographs and the Aadhaar card and the PAN number, all that KYC requirements, everything together with the form you collected. And you will be given an acknowledgement. And you know what? They have promised that within 3 days, that accounts will be scrutinized and they will be sent to Delhi. That's a good this. And also they have promised that when it goes to the New Delhi branch, they will email and give you a confirmation that they have received it. So in about 4 days, you will get a confirmation. And then within the next 3 days, you can expect to hear from them, account has been opened. So if they keep up the promise, in 7 working days of your submitting correctly, completely the account opening form, you should hear that the account has been opened. But my friend, you are not ready to still go. There is something more to it. Let me tell you that. You know what? There is something more you need to do. And that is, you need to immediately intimate about the opening of this in form number FC6C to the Ministry of Home Affairs. So the moment the account is opened, the thing you have to do is fill up that form and send it to them. And of course, that account, once you have that, and then you wait for the final approval from the government. And once you get that, you are ready to go. This internet account, of course, you can use it with all transaction right. And as I said, you can continue to use that FCRA account for, you are continuing to use that for keeping and utilizing. Well, now let me go to the next part of what I want to tell you. Having opened this, I must tell you something. Listen to it. You see, there is a small gap between the time you opened the account, but you received approval from the Ministry of Home Affairs. That's a small black hole. During that period, you can't receive money either in your old account or in the new account. Please keep that in mind. So the moment you open the account, you can't use the old account. But you can't use the new account as well till you hear from the Ministry of Home Affairs. So you have a small dark place there. You need to keep that in mind. All right, having done this, how do you receive the money from there? They say that any money that has come should have certain details, that we can understand. FCRA account, to which accounts, what is the SWIFT name, what's the beneficiary's name, who is the donor, account number, and the address, those details. So, friends, it would be good that you advise your donor that about the new bank account and tell them these details, these 7 details are sent through SWIFT when they send the money. An important factor. This will keep things going smoothly for you. All right. Now, what next? Once this, they have given an order that when the moment any foreign contribution comes into the bank, they will let you know by email or FC. That's a good thing. Or through SMS. That's a good thing. Now, you have to submit to the local branch when the money has come. That's important, that you have to say the details of the purpose of the receipt of the foreign contribution. For what purpose? For what project? You need to give that. And then there is a very strange thing which they have said. You must give a FEMA declaration. Now, the law which we are dealing with is FCRA, not FEMA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. But now they say you give a declaration under the Foreign Exchange Management Act. Right. I did a little bit of a run to find out how many people know. Many people don't even seem to know what the FEMA declaration is. Let me explain to you. FEMA declaration is a declaration which you give to the bank and say that the transaction does not involve and is not designed for the purpose of any contravention or evasion of the provisions of the Foreign Exchange Management Act or any of the rules, regulation, notification, direction, or any order thereunder. This is just a declaration. You don't have to give it on a stamp paper, but give it as a declaration in your letterhead. This you have to give, and of course, you can tell them to transfer the money as you receive it. Right, then once you have done this, so keep this in mind, these are all important matters. The local branch will then forward whatever documents you have given, they will scrutinize and send it through email to the Delhi branch, and then you can receive the money, and then it will be without any transfer. If you have instructed the transfer, it will come to you. All right, now, so the story looks all right as far as till now. You know, they seem to have laid down. I hope they keep up that promise. And once you follow this smoothly, the money will come into the account. But there is a big question. And that is, what happens to any foreign contribution which is received through other than FC mode? You know what I mean by that? Suppose a foreigner gives you money in cash. You receive a local check, which is a foreign contribution. And local branch transfer, which is, doesn't matter whether it is Indian rupee or otherwise, it's a foreign contribution. Income generated from the assets you have purchased with foreign contribution is a foreign contribution. What happens to that? You know, any FC, unutilized portion of the FC drawn, you have drawn foreign contribution, you thought you will use it, you held it in cash, you have cash, what happens to that? You have given an advance for a ticket is cancelled, foreign contribution, what do you do with that? Interest accrued on FD, what happens to all this? That's a big question. Will you go and deposit in Delhi or arrange to deposit, or what else will you do? Let me tell you something. There is no clear positive direction given by the government. But let me see what you can infer. Initially, there was a SOP, Standard Operating Procedure, which was issued by the State Bank of India, where they said all these should be gone and handed over at the local branch to be credited in the FC account in Delhi. But in the next few days, a new corrected SOP was uploaded in the website of the Ministry of Home Affairs, where conspicuously this was dropped. So that's a clear indication that this money is not to be deposited in Delhi. So please take note. All these, except the money that comes by remittances from abroad. May I request everybody to keep muted? Please kindly keep your mics muted. All right. So this is very extremely important. As things stand today, you can deposit all these things in your account, the old account, additional FCRA account. That's where you can deposit. However, I do expect there can be some problem because these local branches, they will not understand here your designated account. You will have to give a self-declaration or the proof of this, and then they should be able to attach. But one thing, let me tell you, keep your eyes and ears open. Anything can happen from now on. They can change this, but I'm sure You and your chartered accountant will keep your eyes and ears open to see if there is any change. But let me tell you, as law stands today, all these, except the utilized monies that comes by way of remittance, every other foreign contribution regulation account, every other foreign contribution will go into the additional FCRA account, that is your present account. All right. You heard all that promises within 3 days, within 1 day, you will get an SMS, all those things. If there will everything happen, all right, I'm happy that there is some sort of a grievance mechanism which has been laid down. There is some numbers, emails which have been given where you can complain, and for addressing your this, if you have any further difficulty, there is also provision to escalate this. All right, having said this, my friends, I want to give you some practical tips. How do you go about? Would you like to go to the local State Bank of India tomorrow and open the account? Let me suggest to you, please don't do that, right? So, at this time, using your present account is the best thing that can happen. As before, you can receive all the money, whether from abroad or from here, you can deposit, you can utilize. So enjoy the present time. The moment you get into the new account, there are restrictions, there are things. So don't go rush into it. Perhaps, to my mind, giving a little leverage for any delay anywhere it can happen. Maybe end of February would be a good time for us to happen. Perhaps before that, there will be some people who would know, and we will know how exactly it works. And I would not recommend anybody to go and open a new account right now. Wait, let the dust settle down, and you have nothing to lose by waiting. So February end will be a good time for you to go and open your account. So then you open the account, and that's the time then you will be able to make arrangements. Then one more thing, let me tell you. As I told you, the moment you open the account, you will not be able to get the money here. And you have to wait for ministry's permission. Will the ministry give the permission immediately? Is there going to be a delay in that? With all that questions in your mind, it may not be a bad idea that you receive all the money that you need to receive in the month of March. Speak to your donor and receive that in advance. I would be even aggressive in telling you that should there be some problem, you should be able to survive for a while. And so this is a good time for you to speak to your donor and see whether some more money, including the amounts to be utilized in the next year, has to be got into your present account now. So a little bit of a planning, finance, cash flow management, planning to make sure nothing untoward happens. You will be able to continue what God has called you for. So do a little planning, have enough money there. Remember, irrespective of that, the money that is lying in your present account, you can use it. There is no restriction on that. The restriction is only in regard to the inflow of the money. So maybe you can, with the consent of the donor, get the money a little in advance. I know it will give you an income tax problem because you have more income, but income tax, there are provisions for you to roll it over to the next year, make use of that. So do a little bit of a finance planning. That will help us to handle this matter well. So that's my advice to you on these matters. So friends, I have told you how you can open the account and what would be the best way to go about. Let me now go to the second part of my presentation, and that is on the renewal of the registration. This is the most important thing, and people fear that there can be things that can go out of hand at this time. So please give me your best attention as I deal with this here. First and foremost, let us understand the timeline. Now, the timeline is, you need to check. I know that most of you your renewal might be due on 30th of October 2021. The earlier the law said, you can in that case make an application, before May. But that is now before 30th April. But now the law is you can submit this only after 30th April. So before 30th April, you can't make an application for renewal. And you know that the window is 6 months. There are 20,000 organizations who are going to make an application. So your application has to be processed and you need to hear from them within that period. So I would suggest get ready with all the papers and immediately after 30th April 2021, make your application. That's the timeline. So 30th April, so please understand, if your renewal is due by 30th October 2021, you need to be ready to file it immediately after 30th April 2021. Now, let me tell you something that has been introduced now. Government has also extended the date of filing your intimation or what is known as the annual return in form number FC4 for the year 2019-20. For the year 2019-20, I'm sure your accounts will be already ready, audited, and you might be getting ready because 30th April was the 31st of December was the due date for you to upload it to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And they said that now that date is extended till June. You know what? It's not a big relaxation for you. This is extended because they want you to mention the new FCRA account in the annual form. So you will not be able to upload it now. You will have to wait for opening the account. So hold your annual returns now. Very important matters. Please remember, don't file your annual returns, though it is for the year ended 20. Now, wait for the account to be open. Hopefully that will be through by 31st of March. Once that is opened, file the annual return. I do advise you, even without waiting for the June end, file the annual return and then file the renewal application, because so that this requirement is also met by you when you file the requirement for registration. So this is the request suggestion I would make. Having understood that, let me tell you, you are getting into something very important. You are going to make a renewal application. My friend, don't jump into it quickly. Get prepared. So, in other words, once you make the application, if there is something wrong with you, there could be problem. So it's always good you prepare yourself. So let me suggest to you how you can prepare yourself. You know what? There are a few things which the name of the organization, the details in regard to this are all in the website or in the portal of the Ministry of Home Affairs. They have to be updated. If they are not updated, then you are in for a problem. It's a law that any of the changes ought to have been intimated to them within 15 days of the change. So, my friend, I suggest make this. Has there been a change or address of your organization? File form 6 FC6A. Has there been a change in the nature or aims or objective? Or you want to make a change? You have selected something like cultural, educational, but you also want to include social. If you are making a change, pass a resolution, you can file form number 6B. And 6C is for any change in the account. Intimation for additional account 6D and 6E, I'll come to it, that's an important thing. But what I want to tell you is, you get into the portal, you can see your account in the MHA portal, see all your information are updated. If not, update them. Most important, The earlier requirement was that whenever there is a change in the board of directors, which is more than 50% of the board, then you have to inform. But now every change has to be informed. One person is added, one person is deleted, you have to inform that. That's the law. So in other words, your latest change ought to be intimated. So please see whether all your changes have been intimated or not. And still bad is the news that now the law provides that every change is effective only after the final approval by the government. What does that mean? You have changed your members of the board. It's not effective unless it's approved by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Is that right? May not be. But I'm telling you, we are governed by maybe the Societies Act, the Trust Act, or by the Companies Act. But how can the Ministry of Home Affairs come and say, I will not approve who the board you have selected? But that's the law. I would like to read it down and say it will be, as far as the Ministry of Home Affairs is concerned, it will be effective only after it is approved by them. But the point I want to make is it is subject to their approval. And you know what? If you had already filed the change in your board members and it has not already been approved by them, then a second change you can't file it. So if some of you are in that position, you will have to wait for that. I understand that, they are going to dispose of all such cases and clear them very soon. So, but as a matter of getting prepared, make sure everything is done. I have a few more matters. Total 6 matters for you to get ready. The first is update your data with the Ministry of Home Affairs. The second thing that you should do is obtain Darpan ID. In case you have not done it, obtain the Darpan ID. Also, something which is mentioned here, seed in the Aadhaar number of all the office bearers, directors, and key functionaries in the portal in that FCRA online.nic.in. Now, we are not able to do it now. Now that the government has said that through a public notice and an advisory for compliance, hopefully that might be possible in the next few days. You'll have to keep your eyes and ears open. What happened? There is also a mention of a Form 6, but there is no such thing as Form 6 today. That's a funny law. You mention things which are not there. I can only assume that Form 6 is going to come very soon. So if Form 6 comes, that will be the process through which the Aadhaar number can be fed in, or what they call it, if I can use their language, you can seed in those things. So you need to keep your eyes and ears open for the next few weeks. And the moment this is possible, you should seed in if you have not done already, the Aadhaar number of all the office bearers and directors of your board. Of course, very important is ensure that your books of accounts are correct, complete, and are sanitized. It's, very often we have seen cases where either there is inspection or anything like that, in which case they find out there is something wrong in the books. So make sure you are able to look into it and see that everything is done and cleared well. A question can arise, look, I have committed some offense in the past. What do I do in that case? Right? Now, that would be too visible and I may not be given the renewal. Friends, you can consider compounding of the offense if an offense which is compoundable has been committed. Of course, you know that there can be no second compounding within 3 years of the same offense, but you can do that. I won't like to spend time, but let me quickly run through it. these are, if you have transferred the FC to any other person, or if the administration expense has exceeded 50 or 20%, or if the receiving FC in an account other than the designated account you have received the money, or you are receiving and depositing any fund other than in the FC account or accounts open for FC, or non-furnishing of the annual return or non-maintenance of the accounts as required. That is, as required means you are expected to maintain for foreign contribution and for the local funds separate accounts. In case you have not done any of those things, and unless you are not able to rectify it immediately, and if it stands out or it is already noticed, in that case you can go for compounding, which means you will have to pay an amount which is not 1 lakh rupees or a certain percentage of the quantum in respect of which the offense has been committed, and then you will be able to compound it. But it's a costly affair, I know that. Not less than 1 lakh you will be spending on that. And as I had already told you, you please file your intimation annual return in Form FC4 for the year 2019-20 together with the bank statement duly certified before you file your renewal application. You filed your renewal application on 1st of July, they find that your annual return is not on record. That could be a good reason for you, the renewal application to be rejected. So don't give a chance to it. I know you can't file for annual form today, but make sure before you file your renewal application, you file that. Okay. This is how you get ready to file. Now let me go on to tell you how exactly you make your application for renewal. When you make an application for renewal, the form is Form FC3C. And there you give all these 7 details which have been given. Details of the applicant and details of the registration, which will be self-certified, nature of the applicant. You know what you mean by the nature of the applicant, which is whether it is cultural, economical, or educational, social, religious. Mention that if religious, mention which is the religion, and details of the all office bearers, functionaries, and pay the amount, and mention that there, and details of the FCRA account and another FCRA account, and a declaration and an undertaking. And with all these, you will file that together with an affidavit executed by each of the office bearer or key functionary and the board member in a non-judicial stamp paper. So, in other words, making an application for renewal is going to be a serious business, my friend. What you need to do is, once you do, there are many things will happen. So my suggestion is, check well, do all that, get ready, and then file it. When you are asked to file, you are supposed to give an affidavit on a stamp paper. This affidavit is to be executed by all the members on your board. Now, let me show you quickly what is that affidavit, what does it look like. The affidavit will say something like this. I'm showing the essential part of that. And it says, I have read and understood the provisions of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and confirm that all the conditions stipulated in subsection 4 of section 24 of the Act has been fulfilled. Okay, that means every board member will have to say, I confirm section 12.4 has been fulfilled. I know you will ask me the question, what is section 12.4? I will come to that a little quickly. They have to also say, every board member, I also undertake to report to the Secretary of the Government of India, Ministry of Home Affairs, Foreign Division, Foreign Contribution Wing, about any violation of the provisions of the subsection 4 of section 12 of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act by the applicant organization or any member of or office bearer or key functionaries that may come to my knowledge. So you have to give an undertaking that any violation that will come, I will report. And then I also understand that the submission of any false or misleading information shall be punishable under the Act. So, can you see what a serious business making a renewal application is? Who is going to affidavit? Not just the chief functionary, everyone who is on the board. Now, I want to tell you quickly, what will happen if some of your board members say, no, I don't want to sign this affidavit. This is too much of an asking for me, right? How do I know that all the 12.4 has been complied with? And am I to keep an eye and report any violation that may happen? All right, but that's the job that has been interested. And the only advice that I can give you is, my friend, if you have anyone which is chicken-hearted board members, maybe you will have to ask them to step down before you go through the whole process. Yeah, that's right. So you will have to now educate the board members. This is what is going to come. And then if there is any change, take that account. I already told you, inform the Ministry of Home Affairs, the corrected final board who are ready to face things. And then you do that. Okay. Having said that, I know you will be very anxious to hear what is this 12A conditions under Section 12A. Let me quickly tell you those things. You know, conditions under this, there are four conditions. One has many parts to it. Let me tell you that. The condition is, these are the conditions which you are supposed to follow, and you need to declare and say, yes, we are following all these things. Firstly, that organization is not fictitious or benami. I don't think there should be a big challenge in that. That you have not been prosecuted or convicted for indulging in any activity aimed at conversion through inducement or force, either directly or indirectly, from one religious faith to another. Now, only good thing here is that, you know, it doesn't say that I will not indulge in any such activity. It says my organization has not been prosecuted. It doesn't even say that whether we have done that or not. So I think that should be possible, that if you have not been prosecuted, say that we have not been prosecuted. There should not be anything. Right. Also, you need to say, you know, my organization has not been prosecuted or convicted for creating any communal tension or disharmony in any specified district or any part of the country. So if that is a fact, you should be able to have confirmed that as well. And then organization has not been found guilty of diversion or misutilization of the funds. Yes, that is important. You need to satisfy yourself. Is not engaged or likely to engage in propagation of sedition or advocate violent methods to achieve its ends. Not likely to use the foreign contribution, not likely to use the foreign contribution for any personal gains or divert it for undesirable purpose. Has not contravened any of the provisions of the Act. You see that? So you need to ask your chartered accountant, could you help me to confirm this? Have I not contravened any of the Act? So that we can. Has not been prohibited from accepting foreign contributions. These are the things under the first category. Second thing is that, yes, any of the directors or office bearers has neither been convicted under any law, note any law, not just Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, for the time being in force, nor any prosecution for any offense is pending against them. So, my friend, if you are the key functionary, you need to ask your board members, have you been convicted under any law for the time being in force? Have you been convicted, right? Or any prosecution is pending, right? I am told by the legal minds that this can cover only criminal offenses, not the civil offenses. If I have been prosecuted for having jumped the traffic lane or jump the signal, and I have been convicted for that, I have paid a fine, such things may not be covered. It would cover only the criminal offenses. But then you need to ask, because everybody is going to give an undertaking on that. Then comes the very important, you know what? You need to say that any of the directors has not neither been convicted under the law. I mentioned that the acceptance of foreign contribution is not likely to prejudicially affect the integrity, sovereignty and integrity of India, the security, strategic, scientific and economic interest of the state, the public interest, freedom of fairness of election, friendly relation with any foreign state, harmony between religious, racial, social, linguistic, religious group, caste, and communities. You know, in other words, your board members should be those who have conviction that you have an organization which follows the law and we will do things well. You know, it's a tall order that all of us have to say, yes, this all have done, and on this basis, I give an affidavit on that. Okay. And the last is that you need to say the acceptance of foreign contribution shall not lead to incitement of an offense and shall not endanger the life or physical safety of any person. Okay. So these are the things that you have to give. So it's going to be a big load on that. That means what the government is telling you is, my friend, you are sitting as a member on the board. You give an undertaking that everything is in order and you will do everything properly. Give that undertaking that you have not committed any offense, that you will not commit any offense. Okay. So if you have the board members who are, shall I say, Namka Vaste board member, who are not serious, who don't know anything about it, maybe they will have to step down. You need to have serious members on the board as this. That's the requirement. Onerous responsibility on the board members. Get ready for that. Get ready for that before the government finds it out. Go through it, tell the board members, this is what is going to come, and allow those board members who are not ready to face it to leave, so that you have a board who would be willing to go through this. All right. You have made that application. Then what happens? You get the certificate of renewal. You know what? There is a new provision that has come. It says, after you make an application for renewal, government may, before renewing the certificate, make such inquiry as it may deem fit to satisfy itself that the organization has fulfilled all conditions specified in section 12.4. You see that? So you have given a declaration, but government will have the right. This is the new provision which has been added now. You see that? So now in the amendment, they say they have the right to do that. Now, I do not know how within a short period of 6 months, perhaps less than that, that they will do the inquiry in respect of 20,000 organization, or whether they have already spotted the organization for which they will have to do the inquiry. And I want to tell you, this inquiry is not an inquiry based on your books, not on an audit. It can be an inquiry by the police teams, whomsoever it is, by asking your neighbor, asking the people around, asking your enemies, so-called, and say, hey, how is this organization? What are they doing? They have the right to do that. They will make an inquiry on that. So any inquiry as they deem fit can be done. And then it says, of course, the government shall renew the certificate of registration within 90 days. No, ordinarily within 90 days. So it can go, when it is for the government, it's ordinarily within 90 days. When it is for you, definitely within that period you will do it. Okay, that's how it is. So we can, I would like to believe, I would like to get prepared to see that we do everything well. I told you how to get ready, get prepared, how to get your board ready. And so when you do this, and hopefully because of shortage of time or otherwise, there is no serious inquiry, or even if there is an inquiry, nothing bad is reported about you, and you do get your registration within 90 days. All the best to you, my friend, that I hope you will be able to get this. But I must tell you, God forbid, if the renewal does not happen, what is likely to happen? Is there anything that you can do about it? Let me take you through that. You know what? If they don't give this within 30 days, there can 6 other things can happen. 6 other scenarios I would like to call it. Let me explain all the 6 scenarios, not to frighten you, but to be ready to face anything. Scenario number 1 is you have made an application, but the government does not dispose it of. They just sit on it. They don't communicate to you. Will they do that? Yes. On public interest, they can do that. It's happened in the past. So they just will not dispose it. Okay. Now, this provision was there even earlier. What was the earlier provision? If the government doesn't give you renew it, you can't receive foreign contribution. But you continue your activities as before. Whatever money you have, whatever assets you have, continue to use and you go on. You can't receive foreign contribution, but what God has called you to do, you continue to do without foreign contribution. But now there is another consequences, and that is the certificate ceases, and the organization not only cannot receive money, but even the money that you have in your foreign contribution regulation account, in the FCRA account, you cannot use it. To my mind, unfair, but I'm not on that. But that's what the law says. So the new law is, the new rules provides that if you don't receive the registration, if the government keeps quiet, not only don't receive, don't even utilize the money which you have already received. Let me take you to the second scenario. Second scenario is where the government refuses to renew. Of course, they have a right. In that case, they can do it only on the ground any of the provisions have been violated. So if they are able to point out any of those violations, then they will say, of course, they have to communicate the reason for it. And sometimes it can be vague, public interest or whatever it is. They will say, refuse to this. Again, the whole law is, if they refuse, all right, don't receive foreign contribution, carry on with whatever money you have already received. But now you cannot, not only you cannot utilize, but even the money is lying in your FCRA account, in the Delhi, as well as in your other account, including the utilization account. None of this money you can touch. That's it. Okay, if you have the heart to hear me, let me go to the third. You know what? If you say, all right, I don't want to face all these things. I make an application, they refuse. I don't want to make an application. Let me finish it in peace. And no application for renewal I will make. But you know what? If you don't do that, again, the whole law is, you will not receive money from abroad, but you can use whatever is there. Now, what is provided is the worst that you can think of. Look at it. Number one, they say, even if you are not applied, of course, it's deemed to have ceased validity. And listen to it, the FC funds lying unutilized And listen to this, and the assets created out of the FC assets shall vest with the government until the renewal or fresh registration. You are risking your assets also. Earlier, they said you can make a fresh application within the next 1 year, which means we will wait for you to see whether you will do it. But here it says, no, that has not happened. You may make or not, all the assets will vest with the government. So if you don't make an application, you are risking not only the money, even the assets, foreign contribution assets that have been created. That is a bad case. All right. There has been a talk about surrender. All right. Would that be a good option? And you say, I surrender my FCRA registration. You know what? The government says, if you surrender, then we will allow you to surrender only after making an inquiry. And obviously that means if there is any violation, then we will take action on you. And of course, then it goes on to say that FC funds and the asset created out of the FC fund shall vest with the government. And then it goes on to say, because you have surrendered, you have nothing to do, the government will manage the activities and may utilize the FC funds, or if they want more money, they will dispose of all those assets which you have acquired, and then with that they will carry on till they have the money and then close the whole chapter, right? And of course, if you are registered, well, they may give it back to you, but that is to be seen. That's it. So surrender, again, the assets will vest with the government. Now, there is also a provision in regard to cancellation. There are certain conditions which says if any of the statement made by you is incorrect or false. So they may not even wait for your renewal time. You have made a statement which is incorrect. If the terms of conditions on which the FCRA was allowed, you have violated it. Or it is necessary in the public interest. Don't ask me what it is. Any provisions of the Act, rules or order has been violated, or the organization has not been engaged in much activities. If that is what they are finding is, without waiting for a date of renewal, they can cancel the registration. Of course, it is provided before cancelling, they will have to give you an opportunity of being heard. And this is serious because once it is cancelled, 3 years, you can't even go back to them. The appeal is allowed only to the High Court. That's the situation. So even that can happen. Of course, this can happen even after the renewal. So cancellation is also the fifth scenario that can happen for you. And you know what happens if it is cancelled? If it is cancelled, FC funds and asset created out of the funds will vest with the government. The government should manage the activity and they can sell the asset and then do that. And then they can return the money if you are getting it registered again. And then let me also tell you the next sixth scenario, which I want to say. They say, all right, we have a suspicion on you. We don't want to cancel it. We have not been able to find out anything specific, but we think that, we were considering cancellation, and so we are satisfied it is necessary so to do, so we suspend. So they can suspend. You suspend, what happens? No more receipt of funds and no more utilization of it. No receipt and no utilization for first 180 days, which can be extended to another 180 days. So this is something worse that can happen. These are the things that can happen. So my friends, I told you, when it comes to renewal, which is due for you, I told you, how do you get ready for that? What are the matters you should do to be able to really have the care to renew it. And then I told you that having done that, how seriously you will make the application. And then wait for the best. And God forbid, if that doesn't happen, how do you face these other things? Now, having said that, my friends, can I give you some practical tips on this before I go to the next session? Some of you might be sitting and wondering, what should I do? Should I renew? Should I not renew? Or surrender or any? One thing is clear. No alternative is better than making an application for renewal. Because if you don't renew, something bad happens. Don't apply, something worse happens. Surrender, still worse. They say no, that also is of course there. But, you know, if you don't make an application, it's not a solution. So, my suggestion is get ready. The good news is you have before you now more than you have 5 months to get ready. I think that's a good period for us. In the next 5 months, you know, put your head together, speak to your chartered accountant, take some professional advice, and prepare yourself well and make the application, because we have reached a stage that once you have received foreign contribution registration, you can't get away from that. So you have to have that. Okay. So that's the first advice that I would like to give you. Do get ready, because anything else that you may do can be worse. Right. Now, how do you face the second category? I am saying it with a lot of caution, so please don't misunderstand me. And this, what I'm going to suggest to you now, is something that you should do with proper advice from, you know, on a individual case, not on a general. But let me give you a general outline, but do it on an individual basis by considering your own case. You know what? If at all your registration is denied or not acted upon or any of those things, your money which is in the bank is at risk. So, would you like to consider using it up before you file the application for it? What do you do then? If you get that good reply, you can. So in other words, can some of your commitments for the future can be met now, and plan the cash flow in such a way that not much of money is available, even if the government wants to take it. But this is something which should not look like a scheme of doing it. So it will depend on individual cases. So when you get ready for that, you need to consider it. It will be a case to case. You'll have to decide how you can plan that. I know it has a lot of operational difficulties. Considering this, you need to make. I am normally a person who is a little aggressive in my planning sometimes. So I would even go a little further and say, you might have to sometimes consider disposing of some of the FC assets. Right. So some of the FC assets, whether you want to use it up, liquidate and use it up before you face this. Perhaps some of you organizations who have a good record, you don't have to do all these things. You can hope for the best. But if your organization has some sort of an inquiry in the past, if you have reason to suspect that you could be in one of those suspected lists, then maybe a little care will be required on these things. Let me also tell you something. What is really FC assets? When I say FC assets, that the best way to check is go to your balance sheet which has been filed. I'm talking about the foreign contribution balance sheet. What are the assets shown there? That they are the FC assets. You might have received money, long back, 50 years back. And you might have acquired some assets. In that case, is that foreign contribution FC assets? My friend, what I would like to, my own opinion is, any asset, even if it was received from the money received from abroad, if the money has come before 1976, before the FC Act came came in, it's not an FC asset. So if you have old as assets which had come earlier before 1976, because according to me, the concept of foreign contribution came only in 1976, not before that. So any asset which you might have purchased earlier, even if it was from and money remitted from abroad, is not foreign contribution asset. So I hope your balance sheet is clear on that. Normally, it cannot appear in your foreign contribution asset and do this. So here is some serious planning would be called for you to be able to steer through. Don't misunderstand me. I am not suggesting any scheme which is against the government, but I am only suggesting some way to make sure that your work does not suffer as you go along. Because, we believe God has called you all to do something for Him. And I believe that God will open the door. We have to do the best planning in that connection. So take care of these things and do a little planning and work on these matters is what I would suggest. But don't go on the basis of what I told you now. That requires, because each of these will depend on how your accounts look, what's the amount involved, what's the normal, suddenly you show a lot of activities, does it look lopsided? So it will have to be considered on an individual case basis. And I would suggest that do it with proper advice from your chartered accountant and professional advice, because I believe would be crucial in this. All right. That takes me to the last part of my presentation, a compliance check. What do I mean by a compliance check? Compliance check is really for you to, what my advice to you is, what all the things that you may do to make sure that everything is sanitized. I have nothing to fear. I can make an application for renewal and I can expect to get one. So I'm going to tell you what steps you can take to get to that confidence. Yes, I can make an application because I have made sure that everything is in order. I have divided it in different parts. First, I will tell you on the basis of the receipts. Then I will tell on the basis of the utilization. Then I will tell you on the basis of other things. So let me go on by. Firstly, a few things, a compliance check by which I mean, these are the things you must immediately check and ensure that this has happened. If these things are there, nobody can say, hey, you have contravened the law. That's why I'm saying ensure that. If any by mistake or anything that has been done, or if anything gives a wrong impression, correct your records so that it shows that you are in compliance. That's what I mean. So compliance check is to look at your records. If any wrong impression it gives, correct it so that it looks good. First thing is that no domestic contribution is credited in your FCRA account or in another FCRA account. So make sure that that has not happened. I'm sure you have been careful about it. This is one thing. The second is the FCRA received as remittances through SWIFT mode is credited only in the FCRA account. Now, in other words, whatever money that has come from abroad, as long as you had this new old account, it goes into that designated account. And once you have opened the new account, it goes only in that account. This is something very important. You know why? Your account is still valid, old account. What I call as another FCRA account. So what might happen is your donor who has been helping you all this time, not knowing the changes, may send the money to your old account and the banker has credited it there. You have violated. So you need to make sure that any money that comes after you open the new account, nothing gets credited here, because it may not happen because you went and deposited, because donor would have sent it to you and the banker has been crediting it all along and they don't know the change law and they credit it there and you have violated. So my friend, I would suggest the moment you have opened the new account, please give the instruction to your old account. No amount that is remitted from abroad should be credited in this account. Banker would ask you, in case I receive, what should I do? You have to tell him, hold it. Don't credit it in my account. I will give you instruction what to do. In that case, you know, in one of the question answers, frequently asked questions, Ministry of Home Affairs have said, any amount which is received and if it is not credited in the account, you can send it back even without the permission of the Ministry of Home Affairs. That's good. You can send it back and ask him to send it to the FCRA. My fear is many of us are going to violate this because of your enthusiastic donors who will send you the money, right? How many donors will you instruct, right? Some of the donor who sent you the money 5 years back wakes up now and he sends you money directly there. So be careful that in the FCRA account, after obtaining the approval of this, you file that amount, but nothing else comes there. That's a care that you need to take. Now, I told you this, any other FC amount. You know, what are those things? That any amount, incidentally, you know, I must tell you, what happens about the FD, fixed deposit interest? Fixed deposit interest can be credited to that. It can be made cumulative, or the FD interest can be credited to the additional FCRA account, not to utilization account. So you remember, additional FCRA account is for keeping and utilizing. So your fixed deposit should be linked to the designated or the additional FCRA account, not to the utilization account. So no fixed deposit interest should be credited to the utilization account. They all should be credited. Either it can be credited to that fixed deposit as a cumulative deposit, or it can be added in your additional FCRA account. Everything else, you know, that is any income that comes out of FCRA asset will be credited only to this additional FCRA account. You don't send it to Delhi and you don't put it in your local account. If you have any difficulty with the banker, you need to convince them, you need to give them all the certificates as to what it is, and then you'll have to show it to them. You know, also keep in mind that if you have an asset, you have given it on rent. If the FC asset, the income rent which you receive is FCRA. However, suppose you carry out some activity there which gives you some income, it's an indirect income. I hold a view that is not foreign contribution, but you can check with your chartered accountant. Well, let me go further. Classify all FC received as remittances through FC mode as in the designated account. Classify, I beg your pardon, classify the FC received as towards the purpose referred to in the certificate. That is, when you receive, you allocate cultural, educational, economic, social. On that basis, you should be clarified, because every amount received has to fall into any of these 5 categories. So classify because it is relevant for your quarterly and annual report. So this is an essential classification, whether you like it or not. Also, specify the activity or project for which FC is received with reference to the instruction of the donor. So mention that. On that basis, your auditor will do the auditing also and show that. So I would suggest to keep all those letters and instructions arranged orderly so that if there is any inspection or during the audit or when the annual audit takes place, you will be able to show that to the auditors or to anyone else. And ensure that the details of FC received are placed in the official website, you know the requirement, or in the website of the organization within 15 days following each of the quarter, which is a requirement. I'm sure you will follow that. All right, now I come to that very important again matter, which is in regard to the utilization. You need to ensure that all FC received are utilized for the purpose for which it was received. This is where we have seen very often the Ministry of Home Affairs, when they do an inquiry, they say, what did you receive it for and what did you use it for? So keep that classification very clearly. And make sure you are not transfer the fund for any other organization after 29th September. You might have done it for another FCRA registered organization before September, but don't do it. Make sure you have not done that after that. And ensure that the organizations are not being managed or financially supported. That means you have received FCRA money, but don't go and support an organization's work. You know, your work you can carry on, but not any other organization's money. You don't spend money for managing the work of another organization. So you don't come, you don't pay the salary of somebody else. You don't employ a person who will go and work somewhere else. So don't manage somebody for that. And also ensure no FC funds are utilized outside India. This also has been provided. And then let me go on, and a few other matters. Ensure FC funds are not invested in speculative activities. You know that you can't even invest it in the mutual funds. Make sure, watch out if any of your land or building is remaining unutilized for more than 2 years. There is no provision in that, but that's a question which is asked for you to say that, and which means the government could be eyeing on them. What are you holding it for? So watch out for that. Make use of it if you can. Maintain the records clearly identifying and demarcating assets acquired with the FC funds. I told you enough on the FC assets, my friend. Go and identify the assets. Make it clear. So if, God forbid, if something worse happens, if you don't say that, somebody else will say it, right? You have a building which has been, both foreign contribution and local money has been utilized. See whether you can have some sort of a clarification as to which part belongs to whom. If you don't do it, somebody else will have to do that. And you know that avoid the expenditure payments in excess of 20,000 rupees in cash. This is again something which the government is looking for very much. That takes me to a very much discussed matter, administrative expenses. I have received so many calls over the last few months. How do we handle this? How do we handle the administrative expenses? I told you last time when I had an opportunity to discuss with you, the classification in the foreign contribution account is not really a logical one. So what would happen is, especially if you have a local account, a large amount, and you have foreign contribution also, auditor would have classified in a proper manner what administrative expense is. But when it comes to FC, he will have to do it in a very unusual manner, illogical manner. How do you manage? That's how you'll have to manage that. So, yes, in the FC account, do it as per the FC rule. When you, the same classification you may not follow, I would suggest don't follow in your local account. I would even go further to say when you consolidate the account, also don't follow this classification, because this classification, may I use the word, it is stupid classification. It doesn't stand any logic. It's very bad. It's not really the administrative expense, which is called administrative expenses. I call it administrative expense only because the rule says it is administrative expense. So perhaps an auditor will not sign the other account if you don't classify it well. So even if the classification is different, you need to do some adjusting entries. When you consolidate that, do that. But the point is, here you do it as they require. I'm confirming to the law. What is administrative expense? There has been a lot of discussion, and let me take you through that quickly. I'm going to first deal with some of the things which are very clear, and then I will go into the difficult part of it. First is the easy part of it. Very clear is any salary, wage, travel expenses related to executive committee members. So any payment to made executive committee members, salary, wages, travel, or any remuneration, very clearly is administration. Similarly, salaries and printing charges, transport, travel expenses of the members of the executive committee, council, governing body, yes, that's this. So no questions. Very clear. Don't change that. However, it may be, follow that. Again, a few other easy items, hopefully. Cost of accounting and administrating fund, cost of writing and filing the report, legal and professional charges, expenditure on office equipment. Office equipment you may capitalize, in which case it may fall out, but if otherwise, and all the expenses related to consumable, electricity, water charges, telephone charges, and postal expenses is clear. Don't quarrel over that. Take it as administration. I come to the difficult part now. Repairs to premises, it says from where the organization and association is functioning. Now imagine a case where I have a head office where my activities is just an administration office. But I have another office where the projects are being done. So the repairs to organization where the organization is functioning, it should normally refer to the head office function. So I might like to consider that repairs which are in other project offices could be considered as not administration expenses. Having said that, let me go to the next one. Rent of premises. Again, they say, that's why it's so illogical. They have said it in two places. Repairs to premises, here they have not mentioned where. So rent and repairs expenses and running and maintenance of vehicle. Now you all know that there are projects, you have a daycare center. The buses are used only to take care of the children who are in the daycare center, not for anything else. You have a medical van, which is only the medical work which is being done, nothing else, And here it says expenses of running and maintaining the vehicle is administration expenses. That's what it says. Now, I would like to rely on the proviso which is provided there. It says provided that expenses incurred directly in furtherance of the stated objective of a welfare-oriented organization shall be excluded from the administrative expenses, such as salary to doctors and salaries to teachers. Now, I would like to make use of this and say these repairs to premises and rent and vehicles, as long as it is not used for anything else, is expense directly in the furtherance of the objectives. Okay. Now, and in that sense, I would like to take it out of administration expenses. A word of caution. This is my view. May not be the view of the Ministry of Home Affairs. So you might take a little risk, but I honestly believe, after a discussion with many, including the partners in my firm, that, this would be a good way of distinguishing that you have a good argument because of the proviso. So once again, do it with proper professional advice based on the facts relating to your organization. Again, let me tell you a few other matters, perhaps the most discussed. All expenses towards hiring of personnel for management of the activities and salaries, wages, and other kind of remuneration paid, including the cost of travel to such personnel. So, you are paying to people any salary paid to the personnel for management of the activities. Right. So, what do we do? Anybody, there are people, there are CEOs who are spending 90% of their time in looking after the project. Will that be a project expense or the administration expenses? It says he is involved in the management of the activities, and that is considered as an administration expenses, right? However, I would like to go to that another proviso. There are two provisos there. It says, provided the expenses incurred directly in the furtherance of the stated objective of a welfare organization shall be excluded. So, if you can say it is directly for that, it can be excluded. That means if you pay to a person who is directly on the project and nothing else, it can be. But the designation can be a problem. So, my friend, revisit the designation. If you have a gentleman who is looking after only the projects exclusively, don't call him a project manager. Maybe you will call him a project implementer or something like that. So, your titles sometimes mislead you. So do that. So if there are people, you can take advantage of this. Expenses directly in the furtherance of the stated objective. And then you can say it's directly on that. And don't use it, the managers and things like that. Anyone in that position, keep them away. The grassroots level workers means those who are directly coming in touch with the beneficiaries can be excluded. Again, a liberal view, my view, do it in specific cases with your advice from your chartered accountant. And however, as I have always been saying, be liberal, 20%, 50%, whether it is on the amount which is utilized or on the amount received. The law says on the amount which is received. I would suggest that you play it safe. That will be 20% within the amount utilized as well as the amount received. Handle classifications of administration expenses. Again, most conservatively. If you have a doubt, use it as a administration expense because you don't want to come into problem with the government. Let me quickly move on to the next few things, and then I will wind up and give you some time for questions. At least 15 minutes I will give for questions. Ensure that separate set of accounts and records are maintained, and including the register for investment are maintained exclusively for foreign contribution, and ensure that the audited accounts are placed in the official website. Now, I want to tell you something. You know what? You have time to file your annual accounts till June. But Rule 13A has not been changed, which means you have to upload in the website by December. So, notwithstanding the fact that your FC accounts can be filed before June next year, upload them in the website by December. So you can't tamper with that. You can't change it, So this is again another matter I'm afraid many people will miss out because they won't place it on that website. But this rule has not been changed. I wish they have changed this as well, but they have not done that. So there is a requirement. You upload it within the 9 months, but they say for filing it, we give you time. Okay. And ensure that the annual statements are filed together with the annual return. Annual statements of account are filed together with the annual return. Okay. The last matter which I want to tell you is this. What about this political nature and political activities? There are many. The law is that any political party cannot receive foreign contribution. And the government has a right to declare an organization as an organization of a political nature. Whom they can declare as an organization of political nature, it has been listed out. Out of that, there are two organizations have been mentioned in the latest amendment, and that is organization of farmers, workers, students, youth, whose activities include steps towards advancement of political interest, and any organization which habitually engages itself in or employs common methods of political action like Bandh, Hartal, Rasta Rakho, Rail Rakho, or Jail Baro. If these organization, now it says, if these organization will be considered as of political nature if they participate in active politics or party politics. Now, amongst the experts, there are two types of interpretation that is going on now. Some experts feel that this limits the application in respect of the other two, that only if this happens, that political activists, active politics or party politics is there, this section will apply. We hold a view, no, that this enlarges the scope. In addition to this, this can happen because this does not appear as a proviso, it applies as a another subsection. Without going into the legal matters, my advice to you is stay safe. Don't involve political parties into your activities. You might have noticed, you know what, the farmers' agitation that is going on. Did you see the declaration or the announcement by the farmers leaders that we would not allow the political leaders to come and be part of this activity of our movement? I don't know whether they have foreign contribution, whether they did it because of that. But yeah, any activity, if political figures are involved, if it is political nature, if the active politics or party politics is involved, then you are running the risk of it being classified as a political nature, and then you will not be eligible to receive foreign contribution. Right. So before I conclude, let me tell you once again, my practical tips on this. I might have given you a little fear when I dealt with the second part of my activity, of my presentation. But my friend, I want to tell you, if you do the third thing which I told you, if you do it seriously, you have nothing to fear. Because after all, we are living in a country where there is a law is in place. So anything that they have to do, they have to follow some legal procedure. We have seen that in the past. We have seen they have identified an organization, they have come with an onslaught and said, this happened, this happened, this happened. And when we were able to give a reply, this is it, this is it, this is it, they have not been able to take further action on that. So I believe if you are a compliant organization, which is a compliant, you have nothing to fear. And so my advice to you is have a compliance check. Have a compliance audit for your organization. If need be, engage a professional and do a thorough sanitation of your accounts of the last 2 or 3 years. And then if you do that, you will be able to face things confidently and you will be able to handle things very well. And that is my hope. And it is my very sincere prayer that all our organizations, because we believe we do what we do because God has called us to do that. Since we believe in that, I suggest take it seriously. God expects us to do what we have to do. So take this seriously, do a thorough sanitation and do a thorough compliance audit and face the challenge confidently. And I hope our organization will all get renewal. Right. So thank you very much for an opportunity to share with you. And yes, I'll be happy to take questions. I turn it over to the moderator.
So thank you very much, sir. A very detailed thing you have given us. There are some 10 questions which have been posed on the chat box. First of all is one of the society, they were trying to open 2 accounts in State Bank of India. They are not able to do it. So that's the first question.
They were trying to open 2 bank accounts. Is that what it says?
Yeah, two bank accounts for the same society, and the website was not allowing them to do it, the SBI website.
Yeah, it's not very clear whether it's a FCRA account you are trying to open or you are trying to open another account. Otherwise, opening the account, you can do whatever you like. That's not a problem. But FCRA account, as we call it, you have only one account, and that FCRA account is to be opened in Delhi. Okay. I know of some people who have tried to open an FCRA account in Delhi. There have been some delays, some problems. I am aware of that. But that can happen. But apart from that, for foreign contribution, that's all you have to do. There is no question of opening 2 and 3 accounts in it. You have to just open one FCRA account in Delhi. That's it. So there is no question of opening 2 or 3 accounts. But yes, of course, you can do it for your local accounts, and that's normal law. FCRA doesn't come into play, and you can open 100 100 accounts with State Bank of India.
Another question which is asked about bank account: what happens to the interest earned on this FCRA account? What is this thing, whether you can use it?
The amount FCRA balance in the account or on the fixed deposit, any interest earned is foreign contribution. So as I told you, it can be added to the fixed deposit if it is a cumulative deposit, or it may be credited to your additional FCRA account, or what you may call it as that old, we used to call it as a designated FCRA account. So it is foreign contribution balance account. So credit it there, because you know that interest has to be accounted for when we file the annual return as a foreign contribution.
Person is asked, what is the purpose?
Just 1 second. You may allow people to have the video on, or maybe we'll encourage them to have the video on at this moment. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Alvin.
So other question is, what is the purpose behind having an account only SBI? Whether government wants to monitor each and every account and the remittance coming in?
Well, I hope Amit Shah was here with us to answer this question. It's why, we can only give an answer, but I'm saying that's the law today. I mean, we need to follow that. But perhaps as we can imagine, they want to have a good control specifically. Somebody has switched on the video or the audio. Okay, right. So what appears is that they want to monitor too closely. There is an echo coming, and so I would request everybody to keep your audio muted. Please keep the audio muted. Yeah, thank you very much. You can have your video on. We can see you, no problem. That'll be good. But keep the audio closed. Right. So as I said, maybe the government wants to monitor, what's happening. Are they not able to monitor otherwise? To my mind, yes. But it appears they want to monitor still more closely. So they know that money, everything comes in one bank, one branch, under a close watch, very close to your seat of power. So that was the only reason I can give, but that's what the law is. Yes.
One question being asked is, once you open an account in SBI, can I use my old account in this thing where the funds are available? Or I have to stop using that account?
Yeah, my friend, your old account, unless you have changed as another account, that you can use it. You can continue to use. So opening an account, the restriction is only that you cannot receive any foreign contribution into that account. So I am referring to the account which you are holding now. I am calling it as an additional FCRA account because you are opening an FCRA account in Delhi. So that account is prohibited from receiving it, but you can use it. So even after opening that account, you continue to use it. There is no restriction. So till your renewal issues are a different matter. Otherwise, yes, of course, you can continue to use that account after opening. Even before you have opened an account, even before you hear from the Ministry of Home Affairs, you can use that account. Yes.
Okay, what happens if the license is surrendered? What happens to the assets? Whether the assets procured 2-3 years before also will be taken over by the government.
See, not license, the registration. If you are surrendering the registration, obviously you are saying, I'm not there. I don't want to handle it. Okay. So the way the government interprets this is that you are quitting. Okay. So in view of that, the government says you are quitting and we will manage everything. So in other words, the moment you surrender, of course, they are, as I told you, first they will do an investigation. They will do an inquiry and to see whether you are surrendering because you have violated and some action is likely to come. So they will do that. But then if there is nothing else, they will allow you to surrender. But you have surrendered it. You have nothing to do. Give the money to us. The government will take over. That's what the law is.
One question was there that if the foreign visitors come over to India and they pay for the food and lodging in Indian money or in foreign currency, what happens to it?
See, if a foreigner comes and he meets his own expenses, we have nothing to do with that. He comes, he meets the expenses. Well, he might be a good donor for you, but that's okay. He uses his money. We are not involved in that. But the question is, if he comes and gives you the money in your hands, then that is, of course, foreign contribution. Whether he gives it in rupee or gives it in dollars, that's foreign contribution. If he comes and uses the money, that the question does not even arise. Yes.
Person means to say reimburses, like he comes and stays and he gives to the charitable trust the money for the lodging and the thing which is incurred by the trust or the society.
Yeah. See, the moment he gives it to the society, whether for whatever be the reason, for administration purpose, for the project purposes, or for meeting his own expenses, right? That is foreign contribution. You need to declare that as foreign contribution. Yeah. So the moment you receive, yes, it is. So the best thing would be that you advise him to use it for himself. Yeah, meet the expenses. That might be an easier way of handling it. Yeah.
So there's a confusion on filing deadline of filing 31st December. You said December the returns have to be filed, but later on you said you're advised to waiting for opening up a new account. So there's a confusion of that statement.
No, sir. Let me clarify. So thank you for raising it. See, your annual accounts have to be uploaded by 31st of December. Okay? I'm talking about the annual accounts. Right. Then, but your annual accounts to be sent to the Ministry of Home Affairs attached with form number FC4. That has to wait. That has to wait till you open your account. So you open your account, then in the annual return, you mention that new FCRA account number and attach your account, then upload. For that, you have a time up to June.
That the maximum money is received in March, what happens to limit of 20% admin expenditure? Can I reduce that March income for calculating the 20%, or that will be included?
See, expenses are calculated by the amount that you use. Okay, so you receive more money in March, then obviously it helps you. And if the expenses are more for more for other than projects, yes, it will help. So if you are calculating based on the receipt, it will help you in reducing the percentage. So receiving more money is not will not affect your computing the 20% limit.
So the one query is, existing FCRA is valid till October 2021. When we should apply for renewal?
Yeah. See, you are expected to apply between 1st May 2021 and before 31st October. Okay. So you have a 6 months period. Obviously, I won't like you go and file it towards the end of October, nearer to October. They may not act on it. So the law is you can file after 30th April 2021. So when do you file the application for renewal? After 30th April 2021. And my advice is file it sometime in the month of May or June.
So the existing FCRA is valid till October 2021. When we should apply for renewal?
That's what I said. If it is due in October 21, 6 months before, you should apply. Within the last 6 months, you should apply. That means before it expires, you should apply. So if the renewal is due on 31st October 2021, you apply after April, but before October. So before it gets over, you should apply, before it expires.
Sir, one question is that whether it's necessary to enter into a MOU or some agreement with a donor to receive foreign contribution.
As per the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, there is nothing like that. There are people who understand you and they keep sending. So this is a procedural matter. There is no requirement as such what you should do, how you should do. However, if there is an MOU, the terms of the MOU has to be followed. So that's the point. So it is not that you need to have a MOU, but you have an MOU, then the terms of the MOU has to be complied with. What is the purpose for which he is giving? You need to use it only for that.
There are 2 FCR accounts with common board members except for one member in one of the trust. What will be the position?
See, by this, what I mean is there are 2 organizations having 2 FCRA accounts. However, the members of the board are same. That's what I understand from the question. 2 FCRA accounts cannot be there in the same organization. So I am presuming that we are talking about 2 organizations having 2 FCRA accounts. However, the board members are common, right? Now, there is no law just now prohibiting that 2 Indian organizations having the common board members. However, I must tell you that the idea of collecting the Aadhaar is to keep a track each of the board members are in which other organization. So if one of the organization is getting affected in any of the ways, they would be able to trace it to see that which are the other organization have some sort of a contact in this. So this will only enable them to trace this. So if you have a situation like this, yes, one of the organization getting affected, it can impact the other organization. Except that, there is no other issue.
So one person is said that he has applied for renewal in September. They have not said, they have asked for clarification, Aadhaar number and SBI bank account of Delhi.
If he has applied applied in September earlier, they have clarified that all the applications for renewal that have been made earlier will now be disposed of under the new provisions. So in other words, if you have made an application for renewal which is pending before the Ministry of Home Affairs, then you now need to comply with the opening of an FCRA account. You need to comply with the opening of an FCRA account and then make an application. So all these things which I told you, you need to follow that and then make an application accordingly. So it will be disposed of only under the new regime. Yes.
We are reaching 8:30 now. We're already at 8:30. I think we'll take one or two more questions and then we'll. So one question is that in the application, there's no scope for editing, and the renewals are not also happening quickly, more than a year since the renewal, but no reply from MHA. There are two questions, sir.
Yeah, you see, when you make an application, you need to be very careful. Even after filing, you cannot revise. So the uploading has to be done in a very people who are good at that. So you can, of course, before you upload, you can make the changes. It's not that you cannot edit. There are provisions to make the changes before you come to the end. So you have typed something wrong, you can always correct it, right? So you can make that edition and then you can make an application based on that. What's the second part of the question, Alvin?
Forgot the second part again. So one more question. Can we transfer immediately from SBI Delhi FCR to additional FCR account? Means whether you can transfer immediately or to wait for some time.
Oh no, you can transfer immediately. The moment the money hits there, you will get the intimation and immediately you can transfer. As a matter of fact, you can even give a instruction to the SBI bank saying that any money that comes, immediately transfer. It could be a very practical way of doing it, So the money comes there, you can tell them every money that comes there, immediately transfer it there. You can even do that. So yes, you can do that immediately. Any other question, Alvin?
Yeah. Please clarify for organizers whose permission is till October 2021, when opening a SBI account in New Delhi should take place before 31st March or after October 2021.
I thought I have dealt with that already. As I said, two different things we are talking about. One is renewal, another is opening the bank account. That's why I took it separately, right? So first thing is about opening the bank account. As far as the opening the bank account is concerned, that you can open the bank account anytime, but the point is that the present account that you have now, you cannot receive any money in that account after 31st March. That's it. So in your own interest, before this expires, you open an FCRA account with Delhi, because once you hit 31st March, then you cannot receive any money in this account here, which you are now holding. So you can hold only in the FCRA account in Delhi. That's the reason before that you should. So you can wait. In that case, only thing during the period, you can't receive any foreign contribution at all, right? So if you want to keep the matter flowing, before 31st March, you do that. That's about opening the account. It has nothing to do with the renewal. As far as the renewal is concerned, before 31st of October is the renewal. And so you can apply after 30th of April. That's it. So two different matters. I consciously took it separately because the reason why my dealing with both these matters are, immediate problem and a problem which is within the next 5-6 months.
Sir, one more question. You have made a distinction between FCRA account and utilization account. What is the difference?
Uh, you see, now we will have FCRA account. I call it an account in Delhi. So that account in Delhi is only for receiving money from outside India, for nothing else, and for transferring it to your any utilization account. Then you have an account which is you are having now, which you can convert it to additional FCRA account. That is for using the money. Now there is a provision which says that you may have to use the money at different places. I'm in Bombay, but I have a project running in Calcutta. I have a project running in Chennai. So I may like to open bank accounts there. Then the law says you can open additional utilization account. The distinction is utilization account are those accounts where you do not receive any money, but you will transfer the money which is lying in your additional FCRA account to that account for the purpose of utilizing for the purpose. That's it. And they don't receive nothing. They receive money from that main account and they utilize it. So that's a old concept. You have been having utilization account, continue to use it as a utilization account. And the only other factor is that this designation account also will partake the nature of a utilization account now.
So what happens to the interest in the utilization account? Will it be treated as an FCRA account interest?
Yes, interest in the utilization account will be treated as FCRA account.
For opening a new account in SBI, can we have new members other than the present members in the bank that is being used now in the present FCRA account? He means to say whether we can have new members when opening a new account at SBI.
See, for the bank, the signatories can be anybody whom you may authorize. That's about it. However, as you know, when you do all this process, you need to inform them of who the governing body and other members are. So when you open that account there, if you are opening with the new members, that's why I explained to you, go through this process. If you are changing the board members, then change the board members. With them, you can open the new account. There is nothing wrong in that. So you can do it with the present members or with the other members. But every time the change takes place, inform. These are all independent matters. So when you open the account, obviously it will be opened by the resolution of the members at that time. And the change can happen from time to time. Whatever change, inform the Ministry of Home Affairs. It can happen even after you open the bank account. Alvin, is that the last question?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your excellent talk today and patiently listening to all the questions and replying to them. So now I give the thing over to Rafael D'Souza, the president of Bombay Catholic Sabha.
Thank you, Alvin. And my dear friends, I think it was a very absorbing session, very exhaustive and informative. Now, those of you who were there for the previous webinar that we had conducted would perhaps better understand why this follow-up webinar was required. Mr. Rajesh Singh, I really call him as a Raja on this subject because he has on threadbare, as far as possible within the time constraint that is available, has not only recaptured what are the various sections that got introduced with the Amendment Act, but has also told us very in distinctive manner the requirements for the renewals, for the retention, and specifically what we need to comply with the various aspects of that is necessary for the renewal of our registration. The time schedule for various things to be complied with, whether it is April 31st, April 21, or October 21, or December 2021. Everything has been explained to you. And if you still have any queries, today what he has presented is gratis with this goodness for the organization and for the love of service. He would be available. His contacts were already given on the last occasion. And if anybody needs his contact, he can be contact. You can contact us, and we will be put him in touch with you. So once again, the time has already, we have exceeded the time. Thank you, sir, for your time and preparation that we have made for this excellent presentation. And thank all of you from the 100 and odd people that were present. We are still 75 people who are here. Thank each and every one of you for being present and taking advantage of this webinar. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Alvin, we can call it a close.